Hi there, this is Quanisha Green. Welcome to our Black Women CEO Live. As you come in and you're listening in, let me know where you're from, what stage of business that you're in. Black Women CEO Live. Okay. I know my audio is working, which is great. So I'm just excited to come to you this week for this Facebook Live series that we're doing around 3 surprisingly simple must-haves, right, that you as a Black woman need to grow a sustainable business. And I'm having a personal summer today, even though I'm in my 30s and I shouldn't have it. I'm 1 year postpartum. So you may see me fanning myself, and I hope you don't mind. I'll try to keep it out of the mic. Hey, folks who are joining in, just say hi. Let me know where you're from. And let me know what stage of business that you're in so I know I can speak to these different levels. So over this Facebook series that I'm doing this week, we're doing it as a lunch and learn. I'm going to talk to you about the 3 surprisingly essential must-haves you need to grow a sustainable business. You know, this is for you if you've been in business, but you are seeing that you don't see that you're getting consistent income. June said, yes, you better fan. Here, I'll show you. And I have, a side note, I have this cute fan that my best friend brought me from Ghana, and it has like a leather base. I love it. Okay. Back to focus. So, you know, if you have been in business, right, and you notice that you're not getting consistent income, maybe you're not showing up consistently, or you're like, why is this not working to generate consistent income? This live series is for you. If you're new to business, maybe you have this idea, or you've been in courses and masterminds, right, these do-it-yourself courses, and you don't see yourself, you haven't launched yet, right, you haven't seen yourself really as a CEO and entrepreneur. I'm going to talk about that, right? This is for you. So no matter where you are on the spectrum of entrepreneurship, whether you're in this idea, early implementation stage, all the way to an experienced entrepreneur, this video is for you. Because when we talk about growing a sustainable business, we're talking about a business that you can have for a while, but that is generating consistent income for you. Some of you might want the 6 figures income, right? Some of you might say, I want a business, right, that just pays for my family to have vacation, right? I want to stay in my full-time job and I want to generate money on the side. Some of you have this dream of, like I did, of doing this full-time, you know, quitting your job or maybe not going back to work, right? Whatever your situation is, and working on your own. Really, you know, many of you want to work from home. You want to own your time, and you want to build a legacy, right? You want to build a legacy for your family and just be able to just live on your own terms. Let me know if that resonates with you as you're on the video. Do you want to live on your terms, right? Your own terms, not having somebody else tell you when you need to get up in the morning, where you need to be, right? When you can leave, even though you finished your work 4 hours ago. That was my existence most of my professional career. And I was like, why can't I just do this by myself? Or I'm done with my work. You don't have more work for me. Why can I leave at 1 o'clock and I'll see you tomorrow? And you still pay me, right, for the time. So that is where I was when I really wanted to, when I was thinking, I had these inklings of doing my own business. So for those of you who don't know me, I am Quanisha Green, the Black Women CEO coach, the founder of the Black Women Rise movement and this Black Women CEO collective. So just allow me to introduce myself before we, jump into the content. And I started on this entrepreneurship journey. There's a lot of parts. Someone said, yeah, well, yes, I'm employable now. And I'll highlight some of the comments as they come up, right? Because we're all in different stages, and I want people watching the video later to see what some of the, our women here are saying. And once again, as you sign in, just say hi, let me know where you're from, and if you can, what stage of business that you're in. This way I can speak to that. So just allow me to introduce myself, like I said. So Quanisha Green, Black Woman CEO coach. The formal side of who I am is that, I have certifications in master in corporate life coaching. I have a master's in social work with certificates in organizational behavior and management. My background is in nonprofit leadership, community organizing, youth development, right? That's all the formal stuff. But let me tell you about who I be. Right? I'm a woman who's really dedicated to making a difference and helping Black women to heal and thrive. And what I love to do is to combine theory and practice together, right? To inform my work, and particularly working with Black women entrepreneurs to help them make that transition from employee to entrepreneur and to make it smooth and easy. Business doesn't have to be hard, right? There are simple processes that you can use and rinse and repeat to grow a sustainable business. But we got to have some must-haves, and that's what we're talking about today, the must-haves that you need for growth, that you need to grow this sustainable business, right? And so when I started on this path of thinking about entrepreneurship, I was actually at the time a co-executive director of a nonprofit organization. It was a position that was created for me. And I was having a really unique experience, right? My co-executive director with me was someone who was a longstanding executive director. He created this position because I was going to funder meetings and all these other things. And I was like, hey, I need a title, because people were like, why are you here and not him? But he was a white male, right? And so all these dynamics would happen. Another thing that I saw as a young Black, you can say senior level leader, was that there were women who were, some of them my peers, or on the frontline positions, who were telling me they were being overlooked for promotions. Let me know if you can relate to that you're sometimes highly qualified and highly credentialed, but you're being overlooked in your workplace. And then I had older Black women, right, who were saying, Quanisha, go do your own thing. Don't let this work kill you. I've had cancer or high blood pressure or diabetes and all these other things from giving my all to a position. One person was even an executive director, and her board booted her out for some of the things she was doing to help her employees. And she was like, what's that about? She was like, make sure you own your stuff. And so while I was in this dynamics, this is back almost 4 years ago, I had this thought, right? Because I had funders coming to me saying, yo, we're giving money because you're there. And I had this thought, what if I do this on my own? What if I do the work that I love to do, the work that I love, leadership development, nonprofit work, change making? What happens if I do it on my own around things that I'm passionate about? Around stuff that I'm passionate about. Let me know if you can relate to that you have a passion or feel you have a purpose, and you're like, how can I do that full time as my business? You can just type yes into the chat if you can resonate with that. So here I was working full time, having little kitties, right? My son at the time was like 2 or 3 years old, and I was in a full-time graduate program, and I had this dream of leaving my program, working for myself, right? And figuring out how to do this work on my own. So what I started to do, I started investing in myself. And one person that I invested with, many of you know her, Rosetta Thurman of Happy Black Women. This is when she was piloting the Launch Your Business course. I jumped at it, right? And the powerful goal setting and all these courses that she was doing. Because here was this person just 2 years ahead of me, working for herself, left the nonprofit field, but even when she was in it, she was getting paid for speaking and keynoting. And I was like, wait a minute, I'm sitting on these panels. I'm being sent around the United States to talk about the impact of the work that I was doing here in Philadelphia. Even the initiative that I was leading is now an official office in the mayor's office, right? That they're working on this campaign that I was chairing. So I was like, wait a minute, I'm kind of cool and I'm training on this stuff. And Rosetta really started to open my mind that, wait, I can get paid for this, right? And so I started to invest in training to get paid. But here's where things got kind of funky and funny. And this is all, I'm sharing the parts of my story that's a lesson, so stick with me. So I was on the phone with Rosetta, and Rosetta said this to me. She said, Quanisha, you have a unique story and people want to hear it. Now tell me if anyone's ever told that to you, that you have a story and they're like, oh, that should be a book. Or you need to tell people that. You need to be doing talks and all this stuff. Just type yes in the chat if you have had that experience. Someone said, yes, we need to own our intellectual property, not give away to build someone else's company. Thank you. And just type yes if people telling you, oh, that's awesome. Whether it's, even if it's not your personal story, but like maybe the work that you're doing, they're like, oh, you should be doing this on your own. Why are you there, right? If you can relate to that. And so people are saying yes, yes. So June said yes. And then Cynthia was saying yes, right? Kia is saying yes, right? So you all can relate to that. And this is what happened. So Rosetta said, you have a unique story and people want to hear it. And I instantly thought, nobody cares what I have to say. That nobody cares what I have to say, And because by this time, like I said, I was doing social work full time. As a client myself, I've been in cognitive behavioral therapy. So I'm really proficient at this skill called catching your thoughts. So a lot of times when I have a limiting belief that comes across my mind, I can instantly catch it. So I'm so in tune with myself that I can hear it. And so I heard myself say that to her in my head. I didn't say it out loud. And I knew that that was a problem. I said, uh-oh, that's a self-worth issue. because I believed my mentor. I don't think she was trying to blow my head up, right? I believed that she was telling the truth. And then I remembered all these other people saying these things to me, as some of you could relate to. So I knew that the issue lied within me. And so I went on a path of learning how to increase my self-worth. And that's when I wound up in Dr. Venus land. Many of you know Dr. Venus, Black Woman Millionaire Mentor. And so I started, and luckily she talked about self-worth in the context of business. So I started to study with her. And I realized something through growing through that work, that many of us have to just learn who we are, right? We have to remember who we are so that we can show up consistently for our business. And from my research, right, because I was so enamored with this, like what I saw in the work environment that was happening around Black women leadership, what was happening with myself, I was like, I want to study this. And so I went on to dedicate my master's thesis to studying Black women, some of our mental health challenges, right, particularly around just who we are, our battle to exist, but then also how does that impact how we show up in leadership? Right. And entrepreneurship is another form of leadership. I believe you're a CEO from the very beginning. I just need you to wind up believing that. Right. So also this, and all these components together, and even using my story as a means to analyze this and looking at the peer review research, or just people summarizing studies. And what I found is that many of us have a negative sense of self. And here's why, right? And once again, Black women are not a monolith. So if you're watching this video now or later, you might be like, I'm fine with myself. I know who I am, right? But this is what one particular study found that I love. It's a book called Shifting, where they, had the discussion of their research of the largest project to date. It's a qualitative study. So for those of you who don't know what qualitative studies are, it's usually when they're interviewing people. So you hear the real words that they're saying, and then the researchers go and find themes and they code it, right? And all these things. And so they reported all this stuff in a book called Shifting. And this research was done by two Black women, I think Jones and Shutter Good. And so what they found, what was so interesting, was that of the 300 respondents, 97% of them said that they were aware of negative stereotypes impacting Black women, right? But then 80% of them said that they were affected by it, And what the researchers started to show, that as Black women, what we do is that we shift. We shift our behaviors, we shift our tone, right? And we shift how we express ourselves, all because we're kind of negotiating these stereotypes. And it impacts how we show up in our relationships. It impacts how we think about ourselves, right? It impacts how we show up at work, whether in traditional work or in business. Hey, Erica. And it also impacts truly how we form our identity. So what are some stereotypes that you all are aware of? You can just type into the chat. What are some stereotypes that you all are aware of? Just let me know. So some of you might be thinking about the stereotype of the mammy, right? That nurturing mother figure who takes care of everybody else and not her own. Some of you may be thinking about the stereotype of the Jezebel, right? That sexual vixen that you can't rape her because she wanted it, right? We hear that on slavery and history. Some of you may be thinking of Sapphire, right? That emasculating, loud Black woman who no one's going to get the best of her. She's a fighter, right? And some of these images have modern day expressions, right? So for the mammy, think about Olivia Pope from Scandal, right? Until the last couple of seasons, she took care of everybody else, right? She was the fixer and really ignored her needs, right? Think about Sapphire. You can think of someone like Tamar Braxton, right? Always arguing, always loud, telling people off, right? Coming, of course, as Sapphire. And then for the vixens, you can think about the love and hip hop folks. And someone said some of the stereotypes were too aggressive, right? That they're over sexual. And even some of our female rappers, right? It's like sex and all this stuff all day. So think about us being so aware of these stereotypes and then shifting who we are, how we show up, because we're affected by them. So some of us are consciously thinking about these stereotypes and saying, well, I don't want to show up as that. I don't want to be the loud Black woman. I don't want to be seen as overly sexual, right? And then some of us, because of how our environments and how we're socialized and all these other stuff, we show up like that, not even conscious of it, because it's just like, oh, that's who I am, right? That's who I was sort of taught to be. So we all are affected by these stereotypes, And one stereotype that kind of runs through as the current under all of them is the strong Black woman. The strong Black woman, right? Who doesn't have time to cry, who takes care of everything, that just keeps working, right? She's like the mule of society, right? You can abuse her and she'll get up and keep on going, right? And even how we even we're socialized to be strong Black women, right? We're like, got to work twice as hard. You know, you got to just keep going at it. Forget about what they say. Doesn't matter, right? And so that's that strong Black woman image, right? You don't have time for depression, right? Ain't nothing wrong with you, right? Those are some of the things we're taught in this strong Black woman image. So when I had to explore my self-worth and when I started to do this work on my own, it wasn't just about, oh, what are people going to say about me if I start running the business? I had to think about, at the core, who am I? What has influenced that? And how do I want to define this for myself? So I still very much identify with strength, but I have a whole new, you can say, a healthier aspect of it. That strength is taking care of myself. Strength is being vulnerable, right? Like Dr. Brene Brown, I love her. She says, lead with vulnerability. So I started doing this work around shifting and studying it. And that's how I actually started to facilitate this work for other Black women as a coach, right? But things really for me didn't really change. You know, in the last 2 years, I've been able to work for myself and I've generated a total, I just was so happy, of $100K in total business revenue, although it's my goal to get that in a year. But things really started to be different for me when I said, how can I walk my talk, right? So I joined the mastermind at Happy Black Women, right? And I was in this mastermind with 20 other women because another thought that came up for me after I kind of healed from the nobody cares what I have to say, right? Because I started showing up. I started to do keynotes. I started to share my thought leadership, right? I was featured in For Harriet. I was a keynote speaker for a Department of Education in California, right? I was traveling around the country, now getting paid, not just for my travel being covered, but also people paying me, right, to show up and do these talks, right? Teacher for the mayor's office, facilitating parental education around, you know, how to help your kids graduate, right? So I was being paid, but not very high. And so then I was like, well, I want to get paid really well for this. And so when I still had that dream about leaving school, working for myself, it was like, okay, well, how do I do this at another level? And so I realized I had to walk my talk, that if I wanted people to invest in me and pay me thousands of dollars to do this work, whether for them or their organization, I had to do that, right? So even though I invested at that time, the most I invested was like $997, but then I invested like $5K in my coach certifications. And so I was like, and I also wanted to learn a system for doing this. And so in the mastermind, I got to do that. And so I was like, I actually launched my business, and in a week of launching it, I had 1,000 women sign up for the Black Women Rise movement. I got my first high value coaching client, right? And then I was just moving. So I was using what I was learning in the mastermind. I was leveraging my community organizing skill. But the reason why I was able to move and show up is because I started to learn what it meant to be an actual CEO of a business and what was my role there. Because between sharing my thought leadership and even like a month or two in the mastermind, I wasn't actually putting the work I truly wanted to do out there, which was around the Black Women Rise movement, right? I was still like, oh, I can do some nonprofit stuff. So I really said, how can I really walk fully in my purpose and do this as a business and get paid for it? But this is where the Black Women CEO work came in. And this is where around the time I stopped telling my story for you all. Is that when I started to move, I noticed that the other women around me, my mastermind, weren't doing what I was doing. And then as I started to talk with them, they actually came and sought me out. Like, what are you doing that you're getting all these results that we're not doing? We were all learning the same information, right? But what did I just tell you? I did all this inner work, right? Combined then now with this learning about how to be a CEO to then actually go share my gifts with the world, right? And form this Black Women Rise movement. And so I started coaching them. I actually created a program for them where I would coach them, and I would also help them put some of the systems, actually start to actualize a strategy that we was learning. But in coaching them, I started to see that they too, that the research that I was reading, that they too had an unhealthy sense of self. right? That they really weren't clear on who they are. And that even though some of these women were badass, some of them owned businesses, ran companies, were working for the government, right? And had senior leadership positions. Some of them had PhDs. But when it came time to do their own work to grow their business, all this negative thinking came in. Stuff that, their uncle told them when they were 12 was impacting how they showed up in their business. So the work that I wanted to do with Black women leaders so that they can show up well in their life or even start to take charge, I was like, wait, y'all need the same work. So I can help you with the business systems too, but we gotta start addressing this inner work. And they needed to be clear, right? So that's the first, so all this I was telling you to get to the first essential must-have, which is clarity. They needed to be clear on who they were, and then clear on who they wanted to serve, clear on the outcomes and the results that they could get for people before they could actually get in action and implement revenue generating strategies. So the work that I do with Black women, right, is twofold. We do the inner work, right? So you can master who you are and show up and get clarity, confidence, and courage, particularly clarity, because that's the precursor to action, so that you can then go implement, not learn. Many of you have information, right? And we're kind of overwhelmed. We have information overload because you've been in online courses, you've been in masterminds, you've been in group coaching, right? You bought the books. And so you actually have information overload, right? And that's stopping you from getting action. So we get them so clear on who they are and then teach them a really clear system. That's why I teach them a 5-step process and system, a profit roadmap. So then they can actually go out and start implementing revenue generating strategies. So that first must have that you need to grow a sustainable business is clarity. It's clarity. And particularly for Black women, because of how we're socialized, like I just said, we're always thinking about these stereotypes, and that shifting impacts how we show up in our business. It impacts how we've been showing up at work, right? Many of us put our heads down and we think, all I gotta do is work hard to get promoted. And that's not true. You actually have to promote yourself, right, to move up in leadership, but you have to promote yourself to move up in entrepreneurship. And people are saying, yes. Hey, Joanna, that's one of my star clients. I have 2 of you here, Joanna and June. And so we have to then get this clarity on who we are. And when I say personal clarity on who you are, on the personal side, you have to get clear on your values. You have to be clear about your strengths. You have to be clear about your gifts. You have to be clear about what lived experiences have impacted you, right? And then what have been the lessons from that and how you've been choosing to live and operate in your personal life, at work, right? Like I said, all this shifting that we're doing. You have to be clear on what is the legacy that you want to build. What do you want to be known for? You have to be clear on your why. Why is having this business or starting this business so important to you? Right? So you really have to have a sense of who you are. And so I had to do this work with these women early on, right? My fellow mastermind sisters. And now I've done this with tons of women. I've facilitated this either through my free stuff or paid stuff with thousands of women. The Black Women CEO community, at least email-wise, has been 4,000 emails that I've got. And these are people, and I count the membership by email because you join the community. But our reach, when you think about the platforms that we're on, is like about 10,000. Right? And so what would that do for you if you actually could build a platform where you're sharing your thought leadership and getting paid for the work that you want to do, but also not being afraid to ask, right, to get paid for it? How would that change your life? Right? How would it change your life to start living authentically? Because when we know what our values are, we can start live according to them, or we can always be constantly aligning ourselves once we have that level of clarity. Right? There's strength in the clarity. And then you need clarity on these parts, right? You need to be clear on, for the business aspect, on what is your mission, right? What is this clarity on the vision that you have for the business? Because one of the primary tasks of a CEO is to drive that vision, right? And it's hard to do that when you're not clear on who you are, the transformation that you even want for your life, so that then you can go facilitate that for other people. You have to be clear on who you serve. And you need to have a clear message on the problem that you're solving for them. Do you feel you really have a clear message? Because some of you are describing your businesses like, I help people hear their inner child and reach the new level of their essence. And it's like, what the hell does that mean? Like, what really is the result? That, and it could be, I help people to communicate better with their spouses, that you're really doing. Like, we had to break it down, right? Without all the jargon and flowery woo-woo language, right? And that's what people were paid for, because they want to communicate with their spouses better. And in that way, you are still achieving your personal mission, which is to help people get in touch with their inner child, or maybe that's the process to getting them to that end result. So some of you are not clearly stating who you serve, who you do this work for, and the problem that you solve. And then some of you aren't clear actually on the results and outcomes that you get for people. Right? And really truly believing that you actually transform lives, that you help people. And when I say people, I'm not talking about just direct service or, you business to consumer. Some of you are actually facilitating this change at an organizational level, right? Because maybe you're helping organizations to revamp their HR practices or to better relate to their employees or employees to customers, right? There's a range of businesses. But that is the first must-have. You have to be clear on who you are. And so I told you my story, and my story is a lot. There's a lot of things that have motivated me to go in business. But I wanted to tell you that part of my story where you could see that, until I got to a certain level of a strength in my sense of self, I wasn't even truly getting out there. I wasn't asking to get paid for the work that I was doing, right? And then I wasn't even sharing my thought leadership. So I had to start believing that, one, people do care what I have to say. But then to get paid at another level to attract high value clients, right? I had to get clarity on a whole different aspect of what does it mean to show up as a CEO? What is the role of a CEO? Right? And then how to really attune my business so that every time I'm doing something in my business, I know that it's a revenue generating strategy. So some of you are out here marketing, building platforms. Maybe you're getting likes on Facebook, but you're not really doing a revenue generating strategy or action or task. And that is why your income is inconsistent. So you have to be clear on the model that you're using, right? So that it leads to revenue. And all this eventually boils down back to this, your sense of self. That knowing who you are, knowing what are some of your challenges that might be impacting how you show up, right? What's stopping you from actually asking people to pay you for the work that you want to do, or pay you for the value that you help people, that the value and the results that you help people get, right? And even if you've been in business for a while and you're like, well, I know my message, I know my values, I've done that work, Juanisha, I'm fine. You may not be getting to your next level still due to some inner stuff, right? Why haven't you hired a VA, a virtual assistant, or employees? Why are you still doing everything? Why haven't you hired support? That might be you have a trust issue. And you may have that trust issue because your grandma told you that if you want something done right, you have to do it yourself. So you don't go out and get help for this business that you're building. See how that works? Right? Or you might not be putting systems in place and doing all this stuff in your head. So to grow that sustainable business, whether from the beginning, right? Or you're in it and you're like, why am I seeing these results consistently? You got to go do that inner work. And you have to get that clarity, right? And one thing about us being affected by negative stereotypes is that, stereotypes have some truth in it, but we also then don't see the positive side of the stereotype. And this is why we talk about archetypes, right? That woman, there's really nothing unique about us. Most of us fall in some type of archetype, so we're kind of hovering in two of them. And an archetype is kind of, you can say, just kind of like how we have the Myers-Briggs personalities. It's kind of different personalities that show up. So for the mammy, right, her archetype could be Isis, right? That nurturing mother. For Sapphire, her archetype could be the warrior. Think about Amazons, right? They protect, they stand up, they fight against men, right? They don't let anyone get the best of them. And then think about the stereotypes around the Jezebel. You can say that's the vixen, or Venus, right? The goddess of love and femininity and all these things that we need. Those are those strong sides of those stereotypes. And even the strong Black women, right? If we redefine what strength means for us. And so the key is that we have to take these archetypes and these stereotypes and these attributes and start to put them in service of ourselves. Right? So when we get clear on, okay, I struggle with a strong Black woman, how can I actually have that be of service to myself? Right? How can I be strong for myself in a different way instead of always serving somebody else with my strength? How can I mammy myself and be nurturing and caring instead of always giving that to my family or the community or somebody else, right? How can I be feminine with myself, a love of myself, right? Versus always seeking love elsewhere or giving love elsewhere, right? Let's be fierce and nurturing for us. Let's take care of us, right? So that one, we can live and do this business and work. But once again, it all starts with the clarity. So in order to actually implement, and this is what I saw when I started working with women, this is what I see all the time, that to implement, particularly the revenue generating systems that some of you have learned in masterminds and online courses, right? Even if you know the whole system, to implement that, you need to have a deep level of clarity. You need to have a deep level of confidence, which we're going to talk about tomorrow. And you need to have a deep level of courage, right? To actually get out there, start sharing this genius and moving in it. So what do you all think about that? Are y'all getting this? Just say, yes, I see y'all here. Well, let me know if you can relate to this. Do you feel that you are clear? Do you really have those deep levels? And you can put no in the chat or like, I got to work on that. Do you really feel like you have a deep sense of who you are? Right? A deep sense of your values, a deep sense of who you want to serve and how you want to serve them, a deep sense of the results that you get for people. Do you really have a deep sense and clarity on your mission and your vision for your business? And all of us, and I want to say this about the vision, when we see all the time coming down on Facebook, people saying I made 6 figures in 6 months and the Eiffel Towers and I'm going to Paris, right? And all these other things. But what they don't tell you is all the work that they had to do to even get there, right? To have that 6 months of stuff to do. But your vision may not be to have a 6-figure business. Your vision might be to have a business that brings in $1,000 a month so that it covers your child's tuition, right? So we all have different visions. And so sometimes we're buying into somebody else's vision and it's something that we don't even want for ourselves, right? So even though I learned how to build a location independent business, the same strategies that I teach my clients can help that, I don't want to travel that much. I actually want to be home with my kids or tending to like myself or whatever it is. So Erica said, I have to work on clarity. And then Monique said, yes, I saw myself this way with my business, thinking no one wanted to hear what I have to say. The last 2 weeks since we spoke, I have more clarity on this and currently have been working on my new system program. Yay! Monique is one of our awesome women in our community, right? So if you aren't seeing your business growing, or even if you're in a startup phase and you're just like, I don't get this, right? You have to get clear. You have to have this deep level of clarity. Right? And this is another thing about clarity, and particularly having a vision. Those things propel, like I said, clarity is the precursor to action. And then as you get in action, you get even more, more clearer, whatever the proper way is to say that. You get more levels of clarity, right? And then when you're clear on your vision, it helps propel you forward. So some of you have started, and so Kia says she's working, have been on this walk, but then you stop. Right? Something may come up in your life or you're like, I'm not motivated. And it could be because you're not clear on your vision. Right? So when I get to that deeper why, the vision of me being able to have the freedom that I want, to have the ability to work the way I want to, especially as I manage a mental health and PTSD, right? Because I had some emotional trauma in my childhood, right? I wanted the flexibility to be able to tend to myself, to wake up at 10 o'clock if I need to, right? And get work done because maybe my depression kicked in and it's affecting my body, right? To also I also have this vision of being able to afford my sons the education that I have, regardless of whatever my family income is, right? Because I was poor, even though I was smart, I got scholarships, but then I also got financial aid to go on to the Ivy League college and some of the top schools in the country, like for high school and all this other stuff. And I'm like, I want my kids to have this. Or I want to be able to say, whatever you want to pursue, I can help you do it, right? If you want to be a master magician, let's send you to the best magician school in the country. So who else here wants to be able to do that, build that legacy for their family? And who else wants to own their time? And so Joanna said having clarity is crucial, right? And so actually this reminds me of a little bit of Joanna's story. Joanna is one of my clients here in the Profit School, in our Black Women CEO Sister Circle, our inner circle. And for many of us, particularly for us who have professional backgrounds, Joanna had professional background. She was working at home, homeschooling her kids, right? And so when we started to work together, one, we saw that she needed clarity around who actually she wanted to work with, what were the results. But then she had to have a deeper sense of clarity on who she is and the value of her services in the marketplace, right? And really, what is that? What was that vision and mission that she wanted to accomplish? And then having the confidence and courage to actually go out and start manifesting it, right? And what I love about Joanna is that within 30 days, she got 4 clients. And now 90 days later, she says, I'm on track to replace my full-time income, right? Just imagine if that was your results, that you can get so clear that it gets you in action, right? And you really start speaking in the way that your client hears you, right? It's like a dog whistle. They're like, oh, wait, she's talking about me. And yes, I do need to pay for that, right? And that you're actually making the offer, right? And building that high ticket program that people will pay you for that. But most importantly, imagine having the clarity that helps you to get in action to actually start to fulfill your purpose, right? Finally, you're on path to fulfill your purpose. Finally, maybe you're putting that book out there. Finally, maybe you're creating that challenge that you want to create. Finally, you're building that community and having that impact on the people you want to have an impact on and make that difference. Right? There's no more scribbling on the notepad, right? I have a whole notebook early on in this process before I had that clarity and really was clear on my self-worth, that I was like, oh, I'm gonna do this, I'm gonna do that. And it would just stay in my notebook. Do you have a notebook like that? Let me know. I see some people saying yes, right? Where you have all these ideas, but you haven't actualized them. And it could be you need to get clear so that you remember who you are. Right? Or some of you have income coming in, but it's not consistent, right? And you're just like, what's the problem, right? Why is it not coming in consistently? And you may need to get clear on what is your business model? Do you really know what you're trying to build here, right? Are you really clear on the results, all right? Or what's really working and how to communicate and how to sell? And people are saying, yes, several books, right? All these books. So what happens if you can actually see that stuff in action? Right? Imagine you getting the result that I did in my first week of launching my movement. I had 1,000 women who were like, yes. Then I have 40 applications for strategy sessions that were like, I want to explore working with you. Right? And some of them weren't ready, right? But I still got a client out of it. And I was like, you are not ready to work with me. Like, you got to get some stuff together, right? And then Joanna said, it feels so good. I started another course this week. We did week 1 on Sunday, and one participant asked, what else do you have? What else can I do with you? We have 5 weeks to go. So I upsell my retreat. Have clarity is ACE, right? And Joanna just started a retreat. And it reminds me of my client, Sierra, who was at the beginning, she was learning some strategy and systems. She was like, I don't get this. And so we put all her strategies and systems in place in 6 weeks. And she really started to see herself as an expert, right? She already had a book when she came to me, and people were buying the book. And she was like, well, I don't know what else to do with this. Or how do I get sales to be automated? How do I turn this into a coaching program? And that's what we helped her. So she had all that built out in 6 weeks. And just about 9 months after that, she actually had her first retreat, which had a group of women. I think she had about 30 or 40 women show up to then do her work live. Right? So these are some of the results that you get that I help facilitate with my clients. And when people ask me, well, what do you do? I say, I help you to remember who you are. I love Marianne Williams' quote, our deepest fear, right, is not that we are inadequate. Is that we are powerful beyond measure. And she talks about how we're all children of God. And when we shrink, right, we're not helping anybody. Actually, when we start to show up and shine, we inspire others to do the same. But to shine, you got to be clear, right? You got to be clear on your brilliance and then willing to walk in it. Willing to walk in it. And so Erica said that would be awesome. And so I didn't want to keep this video too long. We're actually going into 110, so I'm going to wrap it up. But one thing I wanted to say, that if you are ready to actually start to do the inner works and also learn the outer strategies so that you can do many of the things that I'm talking about, like Erica said, that would be awesome, right? To actually start actualizing this vision, sharing your thought leadership, transforming those lives that you've been uniquely created to transform. I want to invite you to come join us, right? Come join Joanna, come join Monique, come join June, right? And some of these awesome women that we have in our inner circle community. And in what I call the Prophet School, right? So the Prophet School, and I'll put the link here. It's actually in the title of this video, but I put the link here. We are doing a 12-week intensive. And some of you have done like my half-day intensives, or you've done the boot camp. And the Prophet School, actually what to put in the comments, is the whole shebang, right? I am helping you do the processes that I know to help you to reach those high levels of self-confidence, those high levels of self-worth, right? So then you can go do the revenue generating strategy. And these are the strategies, the systems that I learned from my millionaire mentors. And I was at a Thurman is a Happy Black Woman Millionaire, right? And I'm the business coach for her mastermind. Right? So if you've been looking for a place that helps you to tend to yourself with the understanding of Black women, right? Helping you so you can feel more confident in this entrepreneurship space. Because a lot of you have confidence already, right? You have confidence in the work that you do. You are a leader. You probably like leading praise at the church, right? You're already a leader. But we have to transfer that over to you feeling strongly and feeling like a leader and like a CEO in entrepreneurship. And some of that is a learning process, but then you also get to practice in our community, right? You get to put the systems in place, right? You get to figure out, well, what could I put together to help the women that I want to help, or to help the men that I want to help, right? So in the Prophet School, we do the inner work, and I teach it to you in a way so that you have the strength that you need on a daily basis to show up for your business. And then we do the outer work, which is the business strategy, putting a revenue generating system in place, and then teaching you what are the revenue generating tasks that you need to do daily, weekly, monthly to attract. And I'm talking about attract, right? You're not begging anybody for anything. I know if you're like me, you want to be sought after. Who can relate to that? Say yes, that you want to be sought after paid expert, right? So that you can actually attract people who are ready to work with you, who are ready to say, yes, I need that support and I want to pay you to help me, right? Who see your value, who's not questioning, why are you charging that much? And then if you're ready to also do this within community, right? So it's not a mastermind, because many people are at different levels. You say, yes, yes. But if you know you need accountability and support, if you know that you want to be able to post somewhere and saying amen, if you want to be able to post somewhere and say, look, someone, I got my first subscriber, or I did this, and they get it, right? Because many of us may be the only entrepreneur, or we are pursuing this, and maybe most of your friends work full time. They're like, well, okay, oh, that's nice, right? And you get that's nice, but you want some people to really cheer, because we know how hard it is to put yourself out there, right? To ask for the sale, right? We know what goes into that process, and we can really appreciate it. And the research shows that community is a protective factor for Black women. Right? So if you want to start getting out there and getting results, getting that book out there, getting that challenge out there, starting that coaching program, starting to go to organizations and start consulting, right? If you want to start seeing those results and you want to just feel good about it, right? Because that's what remembering who you are, that's what the clarity helps you to do. It helps you to feel good, right? That you can really stand and say, these are the results that I get for people, right? And this is how much this is worth in the marketplace. We know it's priceless, but this is how much it's worth. Right? Because when I help you to do this, you're going to be able to do X, Y, Z, and there's value in that. Right? And then, like I said, you don't want to do this alone. That's actually why I joined a mastermind. Not only did I want to walk my talk, I had 20 women on the stage with me, and I was there because I knew I wouldn't have to do this by myself. Because that was the other thought that I had when I feel like I left graduate school with the ability to work for myself, right? I graduated with 5 organizational clients, right? And still coaching some individual Black women. And so I was like, wow, I can do this. But then I thought, wow, I'm going to be lonely working from home by myself. I wouldn't have a water cooler. And so that's why I joined a community, right? So not only would I be just, other people who were doing what I was doing, they were there to also understand. And those women became my first clients, right? They saw my value. They saw like, hey, I need this work that Quanisha does. So you never know what the power of your community and network would be. Some of these women may be your first clients. Right. So if you're ready for all that, I want to invite you to come join the Profit School. So you can go to yourprofitroadmap.com. It has more details about the Profit School, but we are starting on Monday and enrollment closes on Friday. Right. So if you know you need to get these deep levels of clarity, confidence, and courage, so then you can implement these strategies. Some you learned. And for those of you who haven't learned the revenue generating system, I'm going to teach it to you from beginning to end. Right, from beginning to end. And you can see all that we're going to cover on the webpage at yourprofitroadmap.com. I want to invite you to come do that. Okay, so go over to the webpage. The link is up here above, I think above my head. And if you have questions, if you're like, Quanisha, is this really for me? Shoot me a message, a private message on Facebook. I'm going to get it. Or you can email me, Quanisha@QuanishaSmith.com. And I'll put it here on the screen. Because I know if you're anything like me, one, you want to talk to somebody before you invest in something to see if it's right for you. But you may have some questions of like, am I ready to do this? Or how do I just make it happen? How do I make it happen? Right? Maybe you need some more flexibility with the payment plans that are listed up there. Right? Or maybe you're really like, can I get this book done working with you in this program? Right? So let's talk about it. So if you need to have that private conversation, email me, Quanisha@QuanishaSmith.com, or send me a message on Facebook so I can, we can coordinate that. And I can talk to you this week, right? And we can explore if this is your best next step. So are there any questions around clarity? Because we talked about the importance of having clarity, and that's a crucial must-have for growing a sustainable business for Black women, because we have so many things that we may have internalized that impact how we show up. And one, we got to get through the muck, get that clarity on who we are, and then clarity on what it is that we're actually trying to do, and even communicate that clearly to the people that want to communicate that to, so we can attract paying clients. So that's the power of clarity. So any questions? Anyone have any questions? Any questions about clarity or the Profit School? And I'm willing to stay for like another 5 minutes if people have questions. And then once again, if you have questions that are personal, you're like, Quanisha, I don't want to write this on a Facebook Live. I totally get that and I respect that. So just send me a message. So here's my email again, Quanisha@QuanishaSmith.com. Or you can just message me through Facebook, right? Whether it's the Black Woman CEO page or my personal Quanisha, Green account. Then I can talk to you. We can set up a conversation, because I put time aside this week to do that. Alrighty, so that was the first essential must-have. And that's why I said surprising, because you probably thought it was something else, but it was clarity. That's the first essential must-have that you need as a Black woman to grow a sustainable business. Okay, so this is Quanisha Green signing off, and I look forward to seeing some of you in the Profit School. So go to yourprofitroadmap.com. And once again, if you need to just ask me personal questions, right, and you're like, is this right for me? Just shoot me an email. And I will see you mañana, so tomorrow, as we talk about the other two must-haves that you need to grow a sustainable business. All right, so this is Quanisha Green, and I will talk to you tomorrow. Bye.